and welcome to a brand new episode of Talking Law from Women in the Law UK. I'm Sally Penny, MBE, a barrister at Kenworthy's Chambers in Manchester, the Joint Vice Chair of the Association of Women Barristers and the founder of Women in the Law UK. This episode is brought to you by Flex.legal, a platform that connects law firms and in-house legal teams to lawyers and paralegals on a flexible basis. Flex.legal is the UK's fastest growing legal services provider and prides itself on being positive, human and responsive. Find out more at flex.legal. Just a quick reminder, I'd love you to join us for our very special International Women's Day conference on the 5th of March. You can find out how to attend by visiting our website, womeninthelawuk.com, or follow the LinkedIn page. Just search for Women in the Law UK. Now, let's hear from today's guest. Mary is the CEO and co-founder of Flex.legal and is passionate about making the law more inclusive and more agile. Now a business owner and entrepreneur, Mary started her career as a solicitor working in property litigation. And I asked her how and why she made that professional shift.
It took me a while, and I had the idea for a long time because you see so many law students struggling to build up their work experience and get training contracts.
Yes.
So I kind of always saw that as a problem. And then when I was a litigator, you often have, as you'll know very well, Sally, peaks and troughs of work.
Oh, yes.
So really having a pool of talent you can dip in and out of when you need. I kind of had that light bulb moment while I was a junior associate.
Wow. So just going back a step, why did you come to the law? And did you, what inspiration did you have?
Yeah, so for me, I've always loved the kind of personal side of law. So was always interested in family or employment law and really combining kind of problem solving with that personal building relationship side.
Yes.
And it's great. You're always, no day is the same. So you're always going to be intellectually stimulated, which I think as a career is quite an exciting place to be.
Yes.
And to grow.
Brilliant. So once you're in the law, you told me already where the kind of motivation was to set up Flex Paralegal. And I know some flexers, as I call them, because they're wonderful. And many of them have gone on to become, solicitors and have solicitor contracts and so on, and had training contracts. Can you just explain how Flex works and how an individual or undergrad might want to become involved, and how law firms who listen to this podcast as well might want to get involved?
Sure. So from the paralegal or lawyer side, you sign up to our website, and then you'll have a onboarding session where you set up a profile on our platform, and we ask questions like, what's your availability? What areas of law are you interested in? Kind of how can we help? Which clients do we work with that might interest you? And then we have a kind of platform which matches, when requests come in, matches to find the paralegals and lawyers that is most suitable. So we can search by location, practice area, availability. And then we send out text messages to you to accept or reject the role, and kind of in you go. And from a client perspective, it's all about giving you a pool of talent or a flexible resource as and when you need it. And that can be anything from a paralegal to help for 3 days for a trial, could be a paralegal helping negotiate contracts for a year in-house, or it could even be a litigation lawyer coming in to support a big case. So there's a whole kind of variety, really.
Yes, which is fantastic. And I mean, that it's really successful. And I noticed that you won Tech Lawyer of the Year, which is a European thing, isn't it? It's not even just England.
Yeah, I think you're being kind. There are lots of winners in this in this category, but it's a great recognition, and combining law and tech is great fun.
Absolutely. So perhaps you can assist me with this question, which is, what skills do you think you brought from being a lawyer to running a business?
Yeah, so I guess I was a terrible lawyer in that I wasn't as risk adverse potentially as some lawyers are. I think being able to build relationships is key as a lawyer. After all, law is a business of people.
Yes.
And you usually buy off someone because you like them. So the selling side and building that relationship side, I've really enjoyed about building flex.
Yes.
I also think resilience, it's so hard to become a lawyer, and you're trained to work very hard.
Yes.
And both of those are key in building a startup, because you will get things wrong and you need to learn from your mistakes quickly. And you also need to put in the hours, because as you know, running your side projects and women in law, Sally, it
Yes.
takes a lot of time and effort, but it's great fun. And the more
Yes.
you put in, the more you get out.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, you're absolutely spot on there. Would you set up Flex again if you were starting again?
Definitely. My aim is to one day set up a charity.
Yes.
So at some stage in my life, I would love to set up a charity. Maybe it's an part of Flex, but I would absolutely do it again. You learn so much. And my bit of advice would always be, which my mum always said to me, fortune favours the brave. So just give it a go.
Which is wonderful, really. Flex is wonderfully diverse, because I've met so many different paralegals who attend women in law events and so on. What do you think about diversity, and can we use tech even to improve the diversity, do you think? What do you think about diversity and the law?
So I think it's really, really important, and something which we all need to strive to improve. The diversity statistics, as we kind of know in law, are getting better, but they're certainly not at a level that they should be. So I think tech can help. I would say data is important. So
Yes.
it's kind of what data you are tracking. And quite often we get asked now by our clients for our diversity statistics. So we
Yes.
do track this on the platform, and that's all really important to us, because we want to make sure we are attracting a wide range of people, helping people from all different backgrounds. And in the long run, it will mean that we're better suited to giving legal advice to society, which is made up of a whole load of diverse people. So we need to be diverse as lawyers as well.
Talking about diverse lawyers, have you got a favourite fictional lawyer you can share with me, and a favourite book, and why?
Fictional lawyer is a good one, and I don't have anyone that springs to mind. Book, I've just read Radical Candor, and anyone who manages a team, I would highly recommend reading Radical Candor. Even if you don't manage a team, it's all about having good relationships with the people you work with, clients and employees, and really showing that you care about them, but being direct.
Yes.
I think quite often English culture is to try and be too nice and
Yes.
actually not really get to the point. Whereas if you're getting to the point because you want someone to improve because you care about them,
Yes.
then it's a really nice thing to do.
Absolutely. Mary, I know you mentioned earlier that you were pregnant. I'm so thrilled for you. How do you see your life? I've got 3 children, so I don't want to be a spoiler alert. How do you see yourself managing the business and family, really, then maintaining a balance?
Yeah, it's a really, really good question, and one I need to kind of work out and probably will get wrong and feel that I'm neglecting either Flex my baby or Flex or my real baby all throughout the next few years. But I guess, I've got an amazing team, and I think having a team of support is key, and trusting that people can get on without you. They'll probably do incredible things without me and won't miss me at all. So that's important, is building structure around you and people you kind of trust to run the company. And well-being and balance is absolutely key. I won't be a good business owner and CEO if I don't look after my well-being.
Yes.
And I think more and more we all need to remember that, with mental health issues being so prominent in the legal sector. So it'll be an interesting challenge. I plan to come back after 3 months, which is quite soon, but on a part-time basis, and build it up. And so we'll see. I'll chat to you next year and let you know.
Absolutely. Well, it's just good to be on, the journey. I don't think I've had anyone pregnant before, and you must be at least episode 37. I want to ask you about this fantastic project that you've been running, and you and I care very much about loneliness and isolation. And that's what, book clubs, webinars, all those things are about, really, at Women in the Law. And I heard you on Radio 4 talking about your postcards and the Hello Stranger project. Can you just share a bit about that? Because I just love it.
Yeah, of course. So this is very much a side project, and it's called Hello Stranger. We leave postcards around London,
Yes.
which are addressed back to me with a pen attached and stamped back with a question saying, "Tell me something positive that's happened to you," or "Tell me a piece of advice you would give your younger self." And we've got about 500 postcards back.
Wow.
And they're just so inspirational. They're amazing. Everything from real kind of life lessons to amazing stories. And it's really great. And we want to make it into a book over the next year and sell it for a charity, for a loneliness charity. So maybe that'll be my charity I set up.
I love that, because some of them have ranged from how people met, romantic getaways, to advice in life. And I mean, I only know because you've told me, so I'm definitely buying the book, really. Do you think...
You haven't found one, Sally?
Yeah.
You haven't found a postcard yet.
I need to complete one somewhere. But Mary, do you think your kind of love of humanity is something that you've always had? Where does that come from? Is that from family or the way you've been brought up?
I don't know, to be honest. I really love hearing people's stories. And I think everyone has a story and something to say. And so really listening to those and being able to learn from them is really important. And it's just something I've really enjoyed. So I think probably rather selfishly, it's because I really enjoy it.
Yeah, no, which is really good. Now, Mary, we're in COVID as we record this podcast. So sadly, we're not in the studio all together. I wondered what you think the impact of COVID will be on the legal sector.
I think there's lots of positives we need to take away from COVID, as well as some of the challenges. So some of the positives, more flexible working and not always having to be in the office. So can that actually help more women be retained in the legal profession? I hope so. There are, of course, challenges. So training for the younger generations. So often you used to learn by osmosis, by sitting in a room with someone. So that definitely will have been affected over the past few months. But really, hopefully, I'm fairly positive that we can take all the good bits from COVID and turn them into actionable opportunities. So maybe people will start having a nice mix of being in the office and working from home. I certainly miss my colleagues hugely and can't wait to go back into the office to see them. So it's almost had the opposite effect on me of wanting not to work at home all the time. And future generations, yes, I think it's been really tough. The number of applications we've had to flex has tripled from paralegals. But I'm hopeful that the work is picking up and the legal sector is resilient, because some areas get busy while others quieten down. So it's just my advice to law students would be really think about what practice areas you want to go into and focus on your strengths and playing to those practice areas.
Absolutely. It's such great advice. Mary, what advice would you give to paralegals or those wanting to enter the legal profession?
And I think my one huge bit of advice would be flexible. You never know where your career goes. And as I said, I was desperate to be an employment lawyer, but I never did a seat in employment. So I qualified into property litigation and loved that. And now I've set up Flex, which has a lot of employment issues to deal with. So always be flexible and open to where your career is going to go. And at the same time, really try and think about what you enjoy, because if you can put all your energy and time into what you enjoy, you will be more successful and you'll have a really lovely time. And a career is important, but it's not everything. So make sure you're balancing your other priorities as well, life commitments and family and friends. Especially, I think this year has really made everyone look at that and realize that. And then finally, just be kind. You never know what someone else is going through. And so always try and look after and support each other as well.
Yes, absolutely. Mary, if you had kind of some inspirational role models in your life to have kind of instilled some of these things into you. I asked this question of Kate Brimlow QC, who's at Doughty Street. And she said, "Oh, Sally, I don't know if I've got one. I think probably my mum and dad, because my mum was always fighting for, trade union rights, but she worked in a factory, I think, so she wasn't a trade union rep. And that kind of instilled a sense of justice. So I just wondered if you have, whether it's parents or whoever, who've kind of inspired you, because, setting up a business is a big deal. So I wondered where your inspiration comes from.
Oh God, that's a great question, and I need to really have a think. So it's quite often from my mentors. So I've had a selection of mentors over the years who really, and I would highly recommend everyone should get a mentor, at whatever stage of your career you're in. And one which I find quite funny was a lady who worked at LexisNexis, and we started doing some reverse mentoring, and now she actually is part of the team, Sophie, and she had a big impact on me. And she's had 3 children, her balance of work and children and life, and she's hugely positive, has such a positive outlook on life. So she's definitely had a big impact on me and my career. And then there's lots of kind of inspirational people in big companies who I also strive to be like, such as kind of now I've forgotten her name, which is typical, Sheryl
Sandberg. Yeah,
exactly.
Yes.
So I think, having a few role models who have run companies or been very senior to look up to is also very important.
Yes, to have that motivation. Kind of coming towards the end, but I spoke to the restaurant owner, Nisha Katona, who will be coming on this podcast. And she was a family barrister for 20 years. And she's left to set up Mowgli restaurants, which are kind of vegan, Indian, South Asian food. And one of the things she found, and I asked her this, was I asked you earlier about business skills and support for what she was doing, and whether she felt included in the business world, even though she was an entrepreneur. And I just wondered what your experience has been as a woman, former lawyer, entrepreneur, rather than, I suppose, from scratch as your first career, really. How has the support been as a social entrepreneur or just as a business entrepreneur by comparison to when you were a lawyer?
So it's been really good, actually. I think I'm very lucky because I have a business co-founder who is brilliant and very commercial. But I signed up to a lot of courses. So I applied to the Goldman Sachs 10K Small Businesses Program, which is all about helping you as a small business get all those leadership and business skills. So I think for me, it's all about looking at what your weaknesses are. So mine, for example, was certainly finances and understanding a P&L. I'd never done that before as a lawyer. So I knew I wanted to understand that more, and then have kind of looked for courses and things which offer that, and then begun to build it up. And there's still plenty more I need to learn and grow and develop. So it's a constant learning curve, which is part of why I love being a founder, because you're always learning something new.
God, I love that. As a startup, how important were lawyers to you? Because I think that more young people, as paralegals otherwise, should be thinking about transferable skills and what they can do for startups, whether it's looking at, the intellectual property for startups, ideas, or just ways that they can assist. I just wondered, how important and relevant were lawyers when you were starting out, before you got bigger?
Yeah, very important. And every business has legal problems or issues to think through. So I love that idea of getting law students more involved. Half our business is law students helping us run the show. And actually, I think it's really important, especially in this day and age when you have Instagram and podcasts and social media. So that's where law students' strengths are compared to potentially some of the older companies who haven't really grappled with that. So you can add so much value to all companies. And yeah, going back to the question, lawyers were absolutely key to our growth. And we've had some great lawyers along the way, and used law students and consultant lawyers as well. So I think having a law background has definitely helped.
Yes.
Helps there as well.
Yes. And do you think it's important for law students to remember to have other interests in addition to the law? Maybe it's a side hustle of, I don't know, writing books or articles or whatever, crafts and whatever it is. Do you think that's still important for lawyers, qualified or unqualified?
Definitely. And I think it's important to remember why that makes you a better lawyer. So I quite often interview people who have set up an art collection or love acting on the side or running a little antiques Etsy shop online, and all these skills. I'm always like, how can you transfer that to law? Why does that make you a better lawyer? Well, it makes you a much better lawyer because you're looking at commercials, you're understanding about selling, you're understanding about finances, you're becoming a much better, more commercial lawyer. So you'll be able to advise and give advice a lot better. So definitely, I think people should have interests outside of law, but don't just do it to say it. Do the things you enjoy, because there's always a legal element that you can bring into it.
Such great advice. Maybe not quite finished because I'm enjoying this interview far too much. But I don't know if you're going to need a wiener moment. I was always constantly being,
definitely
breaks, in court when I was pregnant with my 3. What's next apart from the baby in 2 weeks? It's going to be a new Women in the Law UK baby. I'm excited. What's next in terms of growth and where you'd like to take Flex? Might you go into Europe?
Yeah, so no plans to go out of the UK yet, because I think we've still got a lot of growth we can do here.
Yes.
But we started offering flexible lawyers alongside Paralegals. So that's a new business unit, which is definitely growing. And then our big development for next year is our qualifying work experience diary. So this will be free for law students to have one place to store all their qualifying work experience against the SRA competency statement, which should really help them with their careers and help them towards qualification. So I'm really, really excited about that, because it really falls into our passion of how we can help people with their legal careers and have more flexible legal careers as they kind of go through different life commitments.
Yes. So this is my final question, and it's about this. I love that. I love where that's going. I love the newly qualifiers and all that. One-stop shop is really important, isn't it? I've seen that you give a lot of interviews, you've written a lot, and you're quite comfortable using LinkedIn and some of the other social media platforms. And I wonder if, would you say to encourage perhaps those who are entering the law, to those established, to use it and embrace it?
Definitely. Networking is so important. And actually, the one thing I've really learned from setting up Flex.legal is people are always willing to help if you just ask.
Yes.
So never be afraid to ask for a coffee with someone just to pick their brains for 10 minutes. And you learn something from every conversation. It comes back to me loving hearing stories, but I feel like I learn something from every conversation I have.
Yes.
And I also would say there are also a lot of trolls out there with Twitter and things. And personally, I think use it in a positive energy way rather than being negative. But definitely, social media is great, and it's a great way to build up your own personal brand at whatever level you are in your career.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, my final question is really the baby's father, because I know it is a he. Are you going to do like a 50-50 paternity? And how important has he been in all of this to have the balance? My husband is good, but I've still done all the homeschooling.
Sadly, where he works, I don't think there'll be shared parental leave, but we'll have to. I'm not too sure. It's going to be a big challenge the next few weeks.
Yes.
You probably feel like a bombshell's been dropped in our,
absolutely.
in our house.
Absolutely.
Very excited.
Yeah, well, it's the same for all of us who have been parents. But Mary Bonsor, this has been an absolute delight to have you on the Talking Law podcast. It's been great to chat to you. Thank you so much. I know we've been trying for a while, but it's so wonderful. And please, will you come back on so we can meet the baby?
Yeah, so thanks, Sally, so much for having me. And I love what you're doing. And congratulations on the MBE recently as well. That's amazing. Amazing. Thoroughly deserved.
Thank you. Thank you, Mary. It's been really, really great.
Pleasure.
Very many thanks to Mary Bonsor for sharing her story today on Talking Law. And congratulations too to that baby. Thanks also to Flex.legal for supporting this episode. I'm Sally Penny. I'd love to hear from you. Do get in touch on LinkedIn, or you can find me on Twitter at SallyPenny1. If you'd like to learn more about Women in the Law UK or working in the law, there are a series of free Lunch and Learn webinars from Women in the Law UK coming every week, and it's all about improving skills and well-being. You can watch these again on the YouTube channel. Thank you to our production team, Sam Walker and Michael Blades at What Goes On Media. See you next time.